Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with my ongoing A Closer Look into the World of the X-Files, Season 2, Episode 18, Fearful Symmetry. February 24th, 1995 is when it originally dropped. This one is an intriguing episode, even if it so slightly touches upon some really interesting themes that, quite frankly, I don't remember seeing since Wild Beast. Nice, beautiful Italian goodness right here. PCP gets into the water supply, which of course goes into the zoo. Electricity goes, the modern state of technology. The zoo opens its gates, or the gates are open, and the wild animals that are just hyped on PCP bust out and just go on the hunt. Some good stuff right there. But Fearful Symmetry, same sort of similar idea. Take the PCP out, put in extraterrestrial. That is, see, there's an interesting couple moving pieces here. You've got most of which hangs on the characters of Willa, Kyle, who's guest star by Lance Guest. We know him from the original Halloween 2, 81, is it? Of course, Jaws 4. Lance Guest makes an appearance as Kyle Lane, Willa, and of course Ed Meechan, if I remember, Meechan. Anyways, Ed is sort of like the longtime present caretaker of the zoo. Willa is sort of a new addition. She is sort of there to bring the zoo out into the modern moment in terms of how these animals are cared after, the size of their pens. She's really there to basically as a positive approach. Kyle, of course, we realize towards the end of the episode, has a history with Willa that doesn't really come to the latter end of the episode. They have a connection, and that connection is explored even ever so slightly. But so that's one moving piece, those three characters and how they interact with one another. Kyle presently is, was it the WOA, I think it was, the World, is it World Organization for Animals or something like that. So him and his buddy there are trying really hard to basically get anything they can get on this zoo to basically put it out of business, because they're in the business of being advocates for animals. Interesting. So anyway, so that sort of is more or less front and center. The extraterrestrial force is sort of another moving piece. And just the idea of the animals, I think, getting out of their pens is another moving piece, which the extraterrestrial idea and the animals outside the pen don't get a lot of time. I mean, the opening segment, or the opening beginnings of this episode, you have some sort of invisible moving force down a city street that is crushing cars, blowing out windows, and we come to find out it's an elephant, a raging elephant, but this thing is invisible. And this is an idea that really isn't tapped into much into the episode. The elephant eventually is found like a few miles outside of town. And this is what we're going to see. These animals are mysteriously being impregnated and yanked out of their pens, but through, I can't remember how Mulder explained it, through various modes. They're not able to get the animals back properly secured in their pens, and so they're usually found a few miles outside away from the zoo, in which case they have had some ample opportunity to commit chaos and even attack people. And the best of the theory is that as Mulder tries to make the most sense out of it, is perhaps because of the ever depleting species of wildlife on this planet, perhaps some alien life is collecting DNA or specimens for their own version of an ark. Right. Because ultimately we're going to take this world to the end and kill all of us and everything, ultimately. And so, but these are ideas that are just ever briefly just skim on the surface. The dynamics between those three main characters, Willa, Ed, who Willa really works for Ed, and then Kyle, who's sort of outside looking in, really takes front and center the dynamics of that relationship, and to what extent will Willa go and Ed in order to protect the things that they're invested in, especially Willa. What would they do? What would they be willing to do? Would they be willing to kill anyone? Well, Kyle Lang doesn't have a good end, so that's interesting. But not now, you got the invisible raging elephant down the road. You've got a loose tiger at one point. You do have a gorilla that is also, I would imagine there's another moving part to this story, and that is, was it Sophie? I want to say it was Sophie. The gorilla who is absolutely scared out of its wits that it is also going to fall victim to the light, meaning the baby's going to be taken. The baby that's been put inside of her is going to be taken by some unseen force. Not enough was made of some of these other moving parts. And I get it's a 45-minute episode, but I wish there would have been, the elephant raging down the road that's invisible to anyone and everyone, is pretty terrifying, and I don't think they really capitalized on that as much as they could have capitalized on that. Now, it is James Whitmore Jr. is actually the director. I think, pretty sure he only gives us one episode, and he is the son of the great late James Whitmore. Them classic large ant movie. Also, too, he was in The Relic with Tom Sizemore, and the girl there, I can't think of her name right now. Also, in terms of guerrilla effects, Rick Baker is on the scene working on this episode. The one and only Rick Baker, pretty freaking awesome on some guerrilla effects. It's great. Mulder, I think, quotes Paul Simon when he says to Scully, "It's all happening at the zoo, Scully." Some good things. It's a pretty good episode, but I just wish they would have maybe. Oh, and two of the three lone gunmen also make an appearance, which is nice. Both Bruce Harwood and Braidwood both make an appearance. And they're the ones who sort of lead Mulder onto this idea that this zoo in particular, no animal has ever successfully given birth to offspring. And also they make reference to the gorilla and to Willa. And so they just sort of lead Mulder on, right, onto this. And so, yeah, it's a good episode. It is really good. Ties itself up somewhat neatly. I just wish they would have maybe expanded more on the extraterrestrial role in this, or even just maybe shown a little bit more carnage from loose animals, which are, sort of like I mentioned, the wild beast, sort of heightened up on the sense of fear of the unknown, fear of something intruding into their world that's messing with them, which is a terrifying theme to run with. You just don't do enough with it. Like I said, the three main characters sort of take the front and center approach. Sophie the gorilla does give us a little bit of inside information as a result of her being able to use sign language to communicate with Willa and therefore communicate with Mulder. And ultimately, I think if there is a overarching theme message, is man really needs to know his place on this planet. But then again, it's one more thing that really wasn't delved into very deeply. So almost hitting the 10. I'm going to stop there. Good episode, man. Next one is Dog Calm. is next up as we continue to press ever forward to the end of season 2 and make ready for season 3. And on we go. Fearful Symmetry, week of Easter. Happy Easter. As I'm saying, that's when I'm recording on Easter. As always, we leave these things with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.